Girl Nala-Ife, coming to you with Nala-Ife Talks live, unscripted, and off the chain. I'm not going to do the Aurora Borealis in this reading or the bubbles. Oh, wait a minute, not reading, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. We are no longer doing readings on this channel. Make sure that you are subscribed to all of our social media for our new channel, Nala the Neptunian, and also the Naughty Neptunian, which will be the Naughty Neptunian will be our hub for all things as it relates to monthly tarot scopes, bi-weekly tarot scopes, and also some forms of daily reads. Okay, so I'm coming up with the schedule, and putting finalizing our initial, I guess, content, right? Just the readings that I'm interested in doing, especially trying to get the New Year's readings here. Okay. Make sure that you also subscribe to Nala the Neptunian, which will be more of our interactive interface. Okay. Where I'm actually on camera talking to people, even bringing people up on the live stream for discussions as it relates to the occult, the metaphysical world, astrology, divination, and even spiritual significance of some things that are occurring in popular culture, politics, and world events. All right. We may even do predictive readings as it relates to world events or events that are affecting several people or the collective consciousness, or even looking at what is the collective unconscious that feeds what we are collectively conscious about. Okay. I know I just said a lot. It should have made sense. If not, replay it back. If not, God bless you. So let's talk about this really, really quick. Okay. This is so superficial, but it obviously has some um, spiritual connections to it. Okay. Trends that we're going to start seeing, and I'm not even sure if it's trends or if it's a shift. Okay. The old way of doing things or expecting things to go a certain kind of way, that's over, at least within this epoch of time. Okay. What I look forward to the most in what I'm channeling is the presence of life and youth and vitality for those of our society who are older. This is something that I actually look forward to, especially for myself and my peers and those who come thereafter. Oftentimes, we're given like a 20-year window from the time that we are young adults, right about 17, 18, or 19, to like get it together. We're supposed to have it together by 40. And then after 40, we are pretty much, waiting on retirement and waiting on, this idea that everything should be finalized or we didn't do it right. Okay. What I love is that it's a combination of technology. It's a combination for a lot of us who are awakening to our higher selves, spirituality plus technology, and also what we are becoming conscious of, that though there may be generations of people who don't make it to see the living into later years of life, this new world offers one to actually have that time to really sit with oneself to determine what it is that they want once you know who you are or have a grasp of who you are. And what I mean by that is an extension of vitality. I keep getting these themes, and I've been getting them since last year, that as we start to go up this scale of frequency, you will find that people are vital for a lot longer. And what I mean by that is that instead of necessarily us assuming that youth means or is synonymous with strength, right? Instead of us assuming that youth or being young means that you're the strongest, or you are the fastest, or you are at your peak. You're going to have those of us in our society over the next 10 years really start to challenge those ideas. This could be connected to sports medicine. This could be connected to fitness and science as it relates to fitness, weight loss science, okay, because we're having to really address these issues with weight, not just here in the United States, but primarily in the Western world, where we all have become a bit spoiled in a sense that we drive everywhere. Even if you don't have a car, you still have motorized transportation, whether that be by train, if you are in a busy city, or a city like my city where there are trains and buses and they run all times of day and it is fairly safe, right? So you have this push to rectify dietary changes in humanity. There will be studies that come out that are directly connected to the quality of soil, the quality of soil on livestock. Because as much as we would like to think that everyone should go vegan and vegetarian, there are studies that show, depending on a person's makeup, their hormonal balance, because there's not a one size fits all. Some people need a certain type of protein, or they have to understand what to do as it relates to their metabolic response in transitioning to plant-based or plant-only diets, okay? At one point, I did start the journey to go vegan or vegetarian, but I myself found that I at least needed lean meat because I didn't have a really good reaction. But that's me personally, okay? It's going to take time, and quite frankly, I do personally enjoy having vegetables only. It makes you feel cleaner. It makes you it kind of helps you purge anything that's heavy, and live foods, or even what you call live or raw foods, have shown to actually help one's boost their immunity and their ability to fight colds or viruses, and even down to helping them stay young, or even regulate their hormones so that they are able to be of a healthy weight. You will have, instead of these patch like um dietitians or whatever, these like patch fitness concerns, actually real science will go into, okay, what does the impact of Monsanto's or GMO have on the quality of fresh vegetables and fruit, or even the grain that is consumed by livestock, and how does that transfer into humans? As we go into more of an age of Aquarius, the revolution of the individual, you will have a demand where people, no, I don't care if they're eating a 99-cent bag of chips, they want to know, what were these particular ingredients GMO, or are they organic? Okay, because there will be a marketed difference in understanding of how foods and how they are harvested actually impact the intelligence. Because listen, what you eat, I notice even with with a lot of my bad habits and my good habits, okay, what you eat determines even your level of intelligence, and how you are able to understand things and compute things mentally, how major or very difficult subjects able to, I love to use the word matriculate, which matriculate, if you don't know what that means, all that means is to take something that seems very advanced and a bit intimidating and start to pick it apart piece by piece so that you understand it. And to even say it in more layman's terms, let's say if you're a regular person, you don't go into all of these academia studies, but you learn about your life through living life, right? To matriculate is to make something relevant according to your understanding so that you're able to digest or you're able to comprehend what it means, right? You're going to start to see a huge push in society with being very focused towards the intelligence of each individual. We are moving from a place to where those who are over society operate with the sole purpose of dumbing people down, because we start to understand in certain groups of society or certain pockets of society how much of a benefit it is to countries, to townships, to municipalities, to communities, okay, for each individual to be operating in their highest level of intelligence. So they're going to look at things from daily activity, what is being programmed on television, music, and movies, literature, everything that goes into entertain the human or create the human experience or enhance the human experience is going to see a shift over the next 10 years, okay? Really starting now in not just educating people, but whether or not someone goes to college won't denote or limit or necessarily enhance anymore, other than enhancing on the subject matter that one is going to college for, or going to a trade school, or becoming a an apprentice for an apprenticeship. Outside of those focused studies, the general intelligence of each person, whether they're male or female, will be a huge place of focus over the next 10 years. And I believe that something shifts in society to where we see the dangers of a society that's ignorant, that can easily be, I guess, that you have, that are not, they don't have the faculties to challenge the status quo and the actual issues that presents when we are not knowledgeable, when we are just going with the flow, when we're not able to add to our world. The we're going to see the cons to that, and this will be what starts that huge push for focusing on improving and enhancing at every level the intelligence of each individual, okay? Most likely you're going to see this start to really permeate in areas where industry is still new. I have a prediction that places that are considered third world in nature will actually spearhead this race towards high intelligence, because of them being deprived of what those of us in Western society have become used to, and it has become fair, gain with the things that we take for granted. Um, will give opportunity to those who were less fortunate and of third world environments and situations, that helps those people become redeemed. It is my thought that if it is a third world environment now, it used to be a place of wealth that was basically snatched of its wealth. Either the leaders of the land were deceived or deceived against their own arrogance as it related to bringing in outside foreigners that would help color the way that resources were conducted. And it essentially caused their own demise from being open to foreigners having a say or conquering one's land. but they had to have an end. I believe that there will be a chance no one is just punished, okay? We don't just go through punishment for the sake of punishment as much as people would like to think about that. It is more or less a consciousness that needed to change, that one needed to experience this rock bottomness in a way, in order to then have the capacity to appreciate the forward movement that then shall take place moving into the future. Okay, so places like Haiti will be a superpower. I know it doesn't seem like that, but in 10 years, what we see in Haiti is going to look completely different. What we see in Cuba is going to look completely different, okay? We call this the new American standard. But those who, I mean, your own holy books, if you subscribe, to Christianity via, you know, these many different Protestant religions or denominations, but the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And that's just the way that it is. And so you're going to find that several countries in Africa, several countries that are East European countries, places that are like Serbia, or places that are in the Middle East that I would consider to be Southwest Asia, or some places that are within the Orient or East Asian. Anywhere there were several people disenfranchised, you will see over the next 10 years new industry starting to form, therefore giving a new culture of development taking place in these places that were deprived. We will also see a restructuring to Australia, okay? All right, so that's the first thing that was on the list. Healthcare, the focus on health, but also how health is connected to the intelligence of each individual, and there being a huge focus on the improvement of the intelligence of the populace, okay, or the polis. All right, the cities and citadels, laws as it relates to individuals and education and nutrition will be surrounded on improving the individual, because it's actually better to have self-sufficiency and accountability. I'm not saying that that doesn't mean that there may not be factions that may try to control people. There's always going to be someone or something, or groups of people who are in rulership classes in this third dimensional place, okay? It's going to take a lot of advancement of the human experience, and maybe this new earth that we are advancing to, which is of vibration and is of frequency, in order to even manifest oneself in that realm, okay, or manifest the experience of that realm in your current experience. um Outside of that, the we as humanity need to evolve even more, okay? So as we evolve instead of de-evolve, we will start to see more of these individual principles taking rulership. I know that people are concerned about like the whole construct of like the Hunger Games or Divergent. Now, those energies may be present within the first 100 years, but it will then become more and more apparent as we get and move further into the age of Aquarius, that we cannot have dumb people who contribute to society. We need our people to be the best of the best, okay? In order for society to progress and make best use of its resources. So I really was inspired by that, because I remember detailing on this channel where years ago I had this dream. I actually spoke about that last night to a person's long-term associate, where I had this dream, and I saw these kids In this particular dream, it looked like it was post-apocalyptic. I spoke about it in depth here on the channel, but not as vivid as, once I write it down or make a story out of it, it would be a lot more vivid. To which I was cruising from place to place on a moped slash motorcycle, which definitely was in another dimension because I am dreadfully afraid of motorcycles. I am so afraid to ride on a motorcycle. You just don't know. And I think it has to do with coming from Memphis and knowing people who had accidents in motorcycles and the effects. I don't know. I'm just not a motorcycle person. So you could tell it was a dream, right? But I was going from like neighborhoods were these little subdivisions after this post-apocalyptic time were like anywhere from 20 to 30 miles apart from one another. Humans had to spread out like that, or maybe there was something that happened where the populations could have declined, right? And now that pretty much the aftermath left, it being a lot of distance between townships. Even down to, in that same dream, I went to go and help a rogue village that was living in what was once before luxury apartments, and like luxury apartments and townhomes, that due to whatever fallout that happened post-apocalyptic, we had to bring food and resources and a special type of money, which was like an electronic currency. It had physical value. You could physically touch it, but it had like electrical current within it. And I was one of the people who worked with these people who were off the grid, because at this time it was too dangerous to have like yellow pages, or for people to know that there were a lot of resources in one particular area, because there was like these rogue bandits or pirates. There were, it was crazy, okay, like motorcycle gang. But anyway, it was all post-apocalyptic. The land you couldn't eat from at this time because of something that may have taken place, to where it could have exposed the vegetation, okay, to some sort of nuclear thing, which meant that everything that the people ate in this one off the grid compound, again, it used to be like a luxury apartment or condo living place, and now it had been converted to like an off the grid type of place for those who didn't have place to go, or people who were despondent, because they still had neighborhoods, but these neighborhoods were little townships and whatnot. But these people clearly were either homeless, some could have been mentally ill, some could have been injured, and this was a place for them that was heavily protected and armed. I mean, I remember coming up and I had my rifle, because I follow, even in my head movies, I always envision myself with a handgun, a AK, and a rifle. Okay, I feel like you have those three things, you're solid, right? Everything else is just extra. And so I had my firepower on me, and apparently I knew the people. There was a lady there who had dreadlocks. I've seen this woman before, but I'd never seen her in this context. And she had the dreadlocks clumped together. And even at this time, she still looked really young, even though I knew that this woman, she's about 20 years my senior. So I'm thinking like, okay, either we stopped aging, that was the benefit of this nuclear fallout, and it extended our life, but the quality of the life was affected, or something crazy. And I'm going to get to why I said that later. But I met up with her, and in the way we conducted everything after I did my tour of the establishment, and I was able to get a record of what they needed, because I guess in this particular dream sequence, I was a person who assisted. So even though I couldn't bring the goods there, I left them with like a bag of gold, or like these gold electronic coins and resources, and then took like a tally of what they needed as it relates to food, of things like water, and other provisions, okay? And again, the people who watched the office where she was were all armed. And also they watched over the tenants, but also to make sure the tenants, who again were a little bit off, things didn't get like rowdy. They had to be their own like sheriff's office in a way, right? But they had to stay off grid because a lot of people would rob establishments like this because of the fact that they had a condensed amount of resources in one place. So when I was asking her about the next stop, she gave it to me in coordinates as opposed to like directions, like street names. I had like this device to know the coordinates of where the next place was, and it was done this way as like safety, okay? So it's really 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 interesting, that right there. What makes me believe that something may happen in a sense of consciousness as it relates to aging and aging gracefully is that in this same dream, I saw people who would naturally, if even if they were coaches of these kids, you wouldn't expect them to be the superstar athlete. And what I mean by that is there were people who were in their 50s and 60s that were killing it, who were coaching these kids, these high school kids on this field, and it was raining at the time, and they had gymnastics, they had general running, track and field sports, soccer. Okay, believe it or not, they were playing soccer. All of these different things in this particular field were being practiced, and each coach looked like they were 50, 60, or 70 years old, and they were also at the top of their fitness. Okay, they were training the kids how to get like them in their abilities instead of coaching the more talented. They were the talented ones, grooming these kids with that amount of superpower. And I remember specifically an Asian woman who was like in her 60s. She literally ran, I guess she was track and field from my perspective. She within seconds was at one end of the field to the next end of the field. I never in my human life have seen anyone, not even Usain Bolt, run that fast. Okay. And so just to give an idea of like this superhuman like ability, and it seemed to peak with those who had age on them. Okay. And I said all of that to say, to underscore that these things, even as fabulous as my dreams are, and even more fabulous as the actual written adaptation will be, I see it actually taking fold in its own way in society. Okay. I do see it. However, what I am concerned about is the fact that we had to apparently, per this dream, go through a period in which the land was toxic to eat from. And so what I'm channeling is that there are people just like that dream happened to me. There are people who were 40, 50 years ago, already had a plan for what was going to happen 100 to 200 years from now that we're speaking. Families who were watchers for generations to generations to ensure certain things were protected. Okay. I see these things, or society, or at least some sort of paradigm in society, which is, again, if you are not of a vibration, if you are slithery, if you are a person who likes to hide behind things, if you are not honest, if you are not forthright, okay, if you position yourself to trick people who you shouldn't trick, right, because then you become the trick, you probably won't have the vibrational ability because you can't control yourself from being deceitful. These type of survival abilities won't be with you because you operate on an old paradigm of falsehoods and masks. These paradigms of survival require people to operate fully from their heart and to be honest. Even if they're in disagreement with someone, they don't come under a false precept. or pre those constructs, those Machiavellian like ideas won't survive this new paradigm, because you're talking about people who are psychic and have telepathy, and so they're reading what you think. So this would be indicative of a lower IQ, to be a person who sits in the shadows and doesn't understand. Even if you operate with a false face outwardly and publicly, it's still indicative of a lower IQ, that you don't recognize that people can see you and see you well. It means that you project lack of intelligence on other people, and the whole time you're not registering just how maybe lower on the totem pole you are, right? So this is a call for us all to become more and more accountable and aware of how the world's changing. With everything that changes, even with the wars between men and women, these things are necessary. Whenever the guard is changing, whenever we're moving from the patrilineal traditions to now the equalizing of that, not necessarily going back to solely matrilineal, but enforcement of both the patrilineal and the matrilineal, you're going to have violence. You're going to have people strike out, and out of their ignorance and out of group think, and being a part of the clubs, one thinks that they're taking one for the team, and they're finding in purgatory, such as some individuals that I've been able to tap into, that they're now in a holding space, to which they're going to have to learn the lesson that they tried to escape anyway, in a much more difficult position, disembodied, right? So we will also have more understanding of the spiritual realm, and the veil is super thin. The communication with those who are not physically in our world but energetically are in our world is going to increase, okay? Starting now, okay? What else we will be seeing is, instead of the ministers, you're going to see ministresses, a ministress. So you will start to see, instead of it just being a female pastor, she may be called a pastress, or a high priestess, or high priest. The divine feminine will definitely impact what we understand today as modern clergy and modern spirituality. There won't be such a division between being a nun or being a monk versus being someone who is in the secular world speaking to that of the sacred. We will improve our understanding of sexuality, but in the ways that we express it now, which is garbage, that will actually improve as well, because the way we express it now actually is indicative of not having a spirit be in the relationship between the coming together of man and woman, and actual ecstasy, or coming together of two souls in actual ecstasy. We will start to learn that the actual satiation, being satiated sexually, does not require the extremes that religion has created with taboo. If something's no longer taboo, then there's no reason for one to be ashamed, or to then make something so perverted in order to understand it or enjoy it or be inspired by it. Okay, so does this mean it's going to be boring? No, it actually means that we are evolved enough to move past jealousy and ownership and possessiveness in relationships, even if it's a one-on-one thing, or even if it's polygamy or polyamorous. Instead of the focus being purely sexual gratification, which no matter what someone intellectually says now, that's what it is. It is a drive of unsatisfied sexual experience as to why one wants to engage in these type of things. That drive will be quenched because we actually understand the spiritual connotation of what's going on with ourselves and the exchange. Okay, last but not least, we're going to be going with the flow. There will be a huge theme of aquamarine and magic. So the flow of magic, all right, and then an abundance of spirits that are not necessarily in skin suits, but are dense enough as it relates to electrical impulses from certain clouds and and frequencies to which they can materialize, where we literally are conversing with beings or ancestors or even family members and friends that are no longer in a body, but in their realm, they're very much real, right? There's like this connection that's happening. The vibration is raising. Another thing, don't be hating, because when Nala the Neptunian shows up, I will have Nala the Neptunian is her own character, okay? In this new world, people are going to be obsessed with aquamarine and rainbow and auras. It's going to be even in the color schemes. Instead of us designating the chakra, the rainbow, or the sexual rainbow, which is the connection with LGBTQ, which is interesting because I never understood why LGBTQ's rainbow is inverted rainbow from the actual spectrum of the chakras, because the chakras start at red, which is the base, and go up to purple, which is the crown. But with the LGBTQ flag, it's like one is de-evolving. So maybe my sisters and brothers who are under that persuasion can maybe enlighten me, because I don't understand why you would flip one's enlightenment and abilities the opposite way, and how that is connected to sexuality. But you're going to see an integration and understanding of many different people's sexuality and the spiritual connotation to it. So a lot of these concerns we have as it relates to race, as it relates to sexuality, are a thing of the past, and it's going to be more of vibe and vibration, okay? But yes, Nala the Neptunian, when she makes her appearance outside of me, Nala-Ife, she comes with different hair, okay? She's wearing aquamarine. She's wearing rainbow colors. She's purple, okay? She's violet, okay? She is, okay, electric blue out here, all right? Understand that she is her own being, and to which I channel a version of myself through. So don't look crazy when you see me out here rocking these colors, but understand that as the older generation grays, which I love this right here, you're going to start seeing women and men embrace weird colors like hot pinks, lavenders, mint greens, and things of that nature for hair color to signify their senior years and their crown, okay? The gray hair will actually enhance one's style, okay? So instead of it being a negative connotation that is associated with aging, it actually is a badge of honor the way it should be, and it should have always been. So we are returning to the age of the elder, okay? Once we establish with these younger generations what wisdom actually looks like, okay? And how our elders actually should be respected in society and how they should function in society, okay? Well, those are my messages about the trends. This is what I've channeled. This is your girl Nala-Ife. This is starting now, and over the next 10 years, we shall see these things implemented. I will be back with more of the detailed readings about, I want to touch on the tornadoes that happened in Kentucky. I want to touch on the portals that are opening up, but we're going to leave that for Nala the Neptunian to get into those things. We're also going to be decoding dreams and dreamland as well on the new Nala the Neptunian channel. All of the Tarotscopes as it relates to Aries through Pisces, and not life path 1 through 9, 11, 22, and 33, and also expression numbers and destiny numbers. We're going to be reading on those things too. So we got a lot of stuff that's going to start this month, but really starts to unfold and deflower or unfold and open up for us in January moving into 2022, okay? This is your girl Nala-Ife. Make sure you thumbs up the video if you're watching. Make sure you support, okay? I know that this channel is shadow banned, but when you support, you at least make sure that the notifications go to those who actually interact with the channel, even if it's just 3 of us, okay? Let's make sure all 3 of us are able to get the notices, and make sure you show love because of the exchange. Let's make sure we're not greedy. We're actually exchanging for information, okay? Because I'm one of the best spies on the planet, so there's no sense in spying on me. You've already been caught, okay? Bang bang, bitch. Bang bang. All right, love you. Have a good one. Peace.